recommendations. Obviously, we really aggressively have to sustain this effort. My sense from the Nigerians is they think this might be a flash in the pan and we'll move on to other things. That's not going to happen. I can tell you, there are so many members of Congress now who are even more mobilized than ever. The State Department, especially with the Secretary of State, and of course, Donald Trump himself. And so we're looking for results. The idea that there's going to be a Christmas strike by the Fulani and actionable information that you have, we need to make sure that that's
it's prevented. Did you see how they just drop an information that ordinarily right now, you would expect the government of Nigeria to get a hold on that? People have said, many people have said that they have raised alarms several times before most of these attacks took place. Like they will raise alarm sometimes 24 hours, 48 hours, sometimes a week, because most of the movement of these terrorists, right, the locals see them. And there are those who use the opportunity to pass the information and say, oh, they are gathering in this also area. We have started seeing this movement, massive movement of these guys in this. So once they start gathering like that, they are plotting to attack a place. Could you please notify the security, the authority, and the rest of them, right? And almost 100% of the time, these warnings were completely ignored by the supposed authority. And there are evidences of that. So this is not something that people are making up. It has gotten so bad these days that even if you are not a security expert, if you are a regular social media user that probably have some, follow some kind of like handles, right? You will see that these days, right, people actually publishes security. So what should have been security information about the movement of these terrorists in most part of the northern Nigeria. Just before you get to see that they've attacked so place, or they've killed so and so people there, or kidnapped a so number of people, you know what I mean? These days, you get to read, I mean, there are some handles that actually would tell you what's going on. The movement of the terrorists and the border of Lake Chad, come down to Borno, straight back to maybe start going back to Katsina, Sokoto, all these areas. There are those who tracks them. And they publishes all this, but still, it's more or less like there is nobody looking for them. Do you get me now? So, Nnamdi Kanu, the man that blew the whistle on all of this, the man they have done so well to make you love in hating him. However, the credit for all of this, if Nigeria was a real place, unfortunately, it also helped to expose most of the most of the lies we have been fed about this one Nigeria. So Nnamdi Kanu blew the whistle on this and said, these Fulani terrorists, they will be deadlier than the Boko Haram. But guess what? While they are killing you, their leaders will be gaslighting you. They will be protecting them. That's exactly the way he said it. He said they will be protecting them. Nobody will believe that. 3 years ago, you would not believe that. You just be like, what is he talking about? And they weaponized that to make you see him as a warmonger. He went as far as putting himself, his life on the line, and he told the gathering of the Southeasterners 13 years ago that they needed to get ready. What was coming would be worse than what you have seen in this part of Borno and all that with Boko Haram. That these guys will be so organized, and while they are killing you, nobody will come to your rescue. They said, you wanted to start another civil war. Hey, what is all of this? Can't we use dialogue? Can't we use negotiation? I remember that video very well, like vividly. There was a lady, there was this elderly lady that was like visibly shaking. she felt so touched about that presentation of Nnamdi Kanu. It was like Nnamdi Kanu it printed the picture of what we are seeing today, where people are now being killed in these border villages, border towns in Enugu, all straight down to Ebonyi, Imo, and then Anambra, Abia. They've all had the taste of the venom of the Fulani terrorism, with people who are like the living witnesses themselves. But when he was saying it, it was incomprehensible. It was unbelievable, unimaginable. How could you even think of that? In Nigeria of today, it would never happen. Now, here we are. Here we are. There are people are now talking about state police. This is the time we need it. We need people who are from the same area to provide security for the same area. There's no point in having Nigeria police where Chukwuemeka from Olu will be posted to Zamfara. And then you will see Suleiman from Moguno in Borono being posted to Abeokuta. Adekunle, who is from Oyo, is now being posted to Osu, Abi, what do you call it? Okija. They scatter them all of these places, right? With the same directive. If anybody gathers that we are not approved of, shoot and kill them. They don't have the understandings of these areas. But again, everybody is now coming back to, we need to harm our own local police. We need to have our own security. We need to defend ourselves. But what they are not telling you is that who are we defending ourselves against? Against the jihadists. The jihadist who believes that our way of life should never exist, while those who raised the alarm, blew the whistle, have either been killed or currently locked away. The terrorists themselves are having field day. They're having meetings with government officials called peace meeting. They are so strong that their issue became so much like a priority to the governments of Nigeria since 2015. The point that it is the government of Nigeria that is providing solution. Rather than go after these criminals, they are providing solution of giving them lands, building them ranches, rehabilitating them, giving them money. All of this to placate murderers. Not to separate these murderers from the real ones, by the way. No, it is to milk the system like they normally do. Keep the people so divided. But at the same time, try to pretend that you want to keep them together by offering them the only solution, which is just like offering them the rope to hang themselves. I don't know who are those, like I said before, I don't know those who are around the Tifnumbu. Okay? Before now, we thought that, oh yeah, Bokwari was just like a Malu. So he's thinking like a Malu, he's thinking like a cow. Maybe somebody who claims to be a Lagos or city boy will think in a different way. But here we are. Yorubas will be dragged into this because we have now become part and parcel of this. Our people in Kwara, our people in Kogi, they've suffered so greatly. And it is already moving down slowly. So who do you think you're going to blame when Tifnubu is no longer your president? And then the entire Yoruba land gets, surrounded by these terrorists. Like you've never believed in your life that a day will come that you would have terrorists kidnap you on the way to Ibadan at Ogiri. You get people kidnap you on the way to Ogbomoso and they made you trek in the forest. And all these things that you never believed will ever happen. Here we are. But again, since most of us are particularly indifferent, right? When things like this are being discussed, because if it never happened to you, probably it's just been exaggerated. Maybe it's not even that bad. If it doesn't happen to me, I don't think it is happening. But I do pray it never happened to you. By the way, let's go back to that room where they were discussing these killings. Please watch this.
Okay, thank you, sir, from Dr. Segun Suwumi. And
first of all, let me say that on behalf of the people of Nigeria, we thank and truly appreciate the efforts that you put in that country's issues. The second thing that needs to be said very clearly is that the designation as a CPC has done much more than you can imagine its weight in words. The first is that it has given hope to a cross-section of Nigerians that someone is finally listening to what's going on and Nigeria now matters. Like a bicycle attitude, those with the responsibility of running our country have had over the years. At least now we can see that they are now beginning to shape up, albeit slowly. Now let me try and say very, very firmly without missing words. I'm a Nigerian, I live in Nigeria, I flee from Nigeria. And I have a duty to explain how things should be and how things are. Sometimes when you want to do a good, if you don't get all of the issues from the perspective of those on the inside, you might mistakenly even rrorism. No nation has been able to do it without improvisation or rhetorics. The only part is to be firm, responsible, comprehensive, respect international law. The second thing that needs to be said is that defeating extremism requires rebuilding what the terror people seek to destroy. Community devastated by violence needs more than sympathy. They need roads, they need schools, they need hospitals, they need economic stabilization to return back to the future that was taken from them. Help Nigeria expand its policing infrastructure. Because at the end of the day, rather than classify it as an ethnic group, which most people feel convenient to, which is Fulani, you must understand that's more than 15 million people that live there. And we don't think that 15 million of them are all into this. And if we're not very careful, we'll be sowing seeds that will never be resolved, almost like the one you have in the Middle East. So it's better to just say, we're dealing with some criminal elite people. What we must do now is we must figure out, bless you.
The time, and so I'm going to exert the prerogative of the chair here, and turn the question a little bit to the issue, the big elephant that's sitting in the back of the room that nobody's actually talking about, which is what exactly do we do to get the Nigerian government and to get governments around Africa to join. And there's an old joke that how many psychiatrists does it take to change a light bulb? And the answer is none, because the light bulb has to want to change. Right? And so the question here is, how do we kind of work together with other countries in Africa, to get Nigeria to want to change? And there's a lot of different tools for that. And so we have a number of people who are on the list that I'm going to turn to and ask that question to. Okay, because I think better than making statements is the question of, okay, now what next? Okay, and so the first person I'm going to put on the spot is Ambassador, Madam Ambassador, who was the person, she was the ambassador to South Africa, and she understands the diplomatic kind of kabuki dance that diplomats have to do to get people to go along with controversial ideas. So is there a microphone that we can, so that you don't have to get up, is there a microphone we can? Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, gentlemen. Are you sending that to Abuja?
No.
Can you direct? Don't send that to Abuja.
No. All right. Don't Abuja for the record. Yeah.
Well,
it's on Zoom anyway.
it has to do immediately, which is the question you asked. Post every soldier to his state of origin. Post every Nigerian soldier to his state of origin. They will not allow their people to be killed and slaughtered. Because national loyalties in Nigeria are primordial. The loyalties are first to the ethnicity and the indigeneity before the Western created contraption called Nigeria. That is true. People owe more loyalties to their Afanifere, to their Ohanese, to their Arewas before the country Nigeria. And it is constitutional. There is a section in the Nigerian constitution that every single Muslim government who have ruled Nigeria more than other administrations have not allowed to be touched. Everybody has a copy of the Nigerian Constitution. It is online, Section 219. Section 219 of the Nigerian Constitution says, establish the federal character of the Nigerian Armed Forces. Every single military facility and location in Nigeria must be populated by no less than 75% of the indigents of the locality of the military facility. Why has government refused to implement it? So what America needs to do is to tell Nigeria, every soldier must be posted to his state of origin. And I tell you something. Yes, I am Igbo. And they invaded the house of Nnamdi Kanu in an operation called Operation Python Dance in September, when was that? Wherever. The soldiers that came to invade the village where boys and young men were marching and wielding rifles, locally made rifles, chanting Biafra hymns, that was no threat to sovereignty. But those soldiers came over weaponized with armored tanks. I thought they were going to invade maybe Benin Republic with military aircraft or something. It was just a house. And they so spoke Hausa to them and Fulani to them and say, you noted. So what I posit is that if the soldiers that had come to undertake the Python dance attack were locals who spoke the local lingo to the youths and said, hey, you boys, you don't know that government is angry with this thing you're doing, and flogged them, the consequences would have been different. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, in a Zoom call that we had a couple of weeks ago, one of the other diplomatic issues is the idea of the United States imposing its will and kind of robbing Nigeria of its precious metals. And so that's one of the issues that we're going to have to get the other Africans on board too. Unlike Congress, those of us who've served in the executive branch have to actually make the choir sing, and we have to make them sing together. And so that's really one of the challenges that we have. And so let me just now turn to Dr. Sylvester Onya, and I'm going to give him the microphone and say, what's
Dr. Onya, it's kind of like should be easy if there is no hidden agenda whatsoever. All this wahala, if you remove the personal greed of the political players in Nigeria, which comes from all over Nigeria, which they don't have tribe, they don't have religion, they don't have even political differences or whatever. So they are all united up there, if you take a look at things. But at the same time, behind all of that are also those who have weaponized their own agenda, either hidden behind religion or hidden behind a tribe. They've also managed to weaponize that within the system enough that all these contrary agendas against the supposed one country continue to run after like the other in such a way that we have this chaos that you have today. If the Arewans says they want Sharia, they know how to do it. They can utilize the population they have in that space that is theirs and implement a Sharia or Sharia law there. If the people in the Middle Belt believes that they want to go with a socialist sort of like a law, so be it. If the Westerner says, oh, we want to go with welfareist law, I'm just giving these random names, right? Meaning people should be able to do whatever they want to do if that is how they want to exist without one imposing or superimposing on the other. Before now, we never had this issue People coexisted. I don't know, maybe we're just too young to understand. I don't know. But never in the history of Nigeria have we actually witnessed people waging war on innocent people because of their religion or their tribe. We have never seen it this much. And I have never read it anywhere